Hi, welcome to How to Repair. In this video I'm actually dismantling a couple of mini dishwashers that sit on the worktop. These are brand spanking new dishwashers and I'm having to sell them because I'm having to create the space because I'll be moving shortly as I'm having to sell my family home due to my mother being in a nursing home. Basically these dishwashers have got cosmetic damage on them and I was not even able to obtain £50 for them, although they are perfectly good working dishwashers and brand spanking new. The only person that's used them is myself, and that's when I've been testing them on the workbench to make sure that anyone that was going to buy them had a fully working dishwasher and there was no fault with the machine. Now these Midea dishwashers are manufactured all over the world for different brand names. As you can see written on the front here, this is Cookology, and Midea manufactured so many thousand to this company and they sell on Amazon and eBay. Other companies that use this dishwasher, and I've managed to get the workshop manuals, wiring diagram and all the technical information on these, which I will put a link to in the description, with the spare parts that come off these machines, because all these spare parts are new and will benefit someone in the future. These are actually made for AEG, Cookology, as I said, Curry's Essential, Electrolux, Zanussi and many other brand names that sell on Amazon and eBay. These are made in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So we're going to dismantle this and we're going to look at common faults. I'll talk you through how to remove the components while I'm dismantling it, and also talk about common problems that occur with the machine, and if I can find some error codes that are related to problems on this machine, we'll discuss those as well. Okay, the first thing we'll do is remove the inner components. We have the salt filling funnel, the basket. Both of those may be useful for the people who have broken them or lost them. We have the main basket with roller wheels. All these will be on the site and my colleague will be putting these up on the video. We have the spray arm. I'll quickly discuss this with you. If your dishwasher is not cleaning the plates correctly, sometimes you may not have had the filter down correctly and particles of food may have got into the internal water system. Therefore, actually spraying these up into the spray arm, and they may be blocking the holes. The holes are designed in a way that puts a slight angle on the actual jet of water, so as they hit the plate, they will actually start the rotation with the pressure of water. And if these are blocked, this can be a problem with cleaning on the actual dishwasher. So that's a perfectly good spray arm. We will remove the filter or the cap from the actual salt container because we need to remove this when taking the base of the machine off. And I'll also take out the filter system as well. And this is a two-part filter system. You've got the stainless steel mesh and you've also got a very fine mesh underneath which collects all the particles. And this you're meant to take out every couple of washes and give a good clean. Now we'll actually remove the outer cabinet from the machine, and I need to turn this round to show you where the screw holes are for this. Okay, there are an assortment of screws on the back of the machine. Some of these screws are designed to go into plastic and others, like this one, are designed to go into steel. So do take a note of where they come from. Once you've undone these, you will be able to tap the cabinet and slide it backwards. Now with the cabinet exposed, we have the door lock on the top. We have some covers which will come away, but really to gain access we've got to drop the bottom of the machine off. But I want to talk quickly about the fill matrix. E1 is a common error code on these machines and it's usually related to the machine is unable to fill in the allocated period of time. And you will find lots of references to this in the workshop manual. The water inlet comes into the back of the machine, and then as water is coming into the machine it flows through the matrix and across the impeller which is in here. There is a circuit board attached to that impeller which counts the amount of revolutions that this propeller does and send the information to the printed circuit board on how much water is in the machine. Common faults that can occur with this are failure of the circuit board, blockages within the matrix, because these are very difficult to clean because you are unable to gain access to the internal side of it. It is pressed together. If we turn it round, And by the way, it is very important to note these edges on the stainless steel in these cabinets are exceedingly sharp. My hands are like leather, but I suggest you wear gloves when working on the machine. Now, if I show you up at the top here, you have an actual inlet where the water comes into the machine. And if I grab a set of pin nose pliers and put that in, I will be able to rotate that anti-clockwise, then rotate it and it will come away. Okay, this means that this air brake or flow matrix is loose on the side of the machine. We can't disconnect the wiring or disconnect it from the base until we actually remove the pipes. To do this, we need to turn the machine over and take the base off. But at this point, I wanted to make you aware of another fault that is a very common fault on these machines. I think it's E4 error code, meaning that either water is detected in the base of the machine or the anti-flood device is active, meaning that the machine will not start, and it may be just showing E4 on the display if you have an LCD version. If you don't have an LCD version, this may be indicated by different lights flashing, but usually the machine will not start. Now what we need to do is remove the base of the machine, and I'm going to bring this over and tilt the machine up onto its back. You may get some water coming out of the machine when doing this because of the water that's still in the salt dispenser. Now we need to remove some catches here, or press some catches down while pulling the base. And you'll notice that there are a few clips here on the side and also a few clips at the top. And then the base will come away. Here is the anti-flood device. Now I'm going to have to detach the wiring. And this is the anti-flood device. And this has just got, if I press these down, has just got a piece of polystyrene in. And when that goes up, it activates the actual switch. And this switch can be activated not just by water in the base of the machine, it can also be activated from you moving it, because it's a little bit flimsy and this is a common fault on the machine. Okay, now we can go back to the flow matrix or the actual air brake, whatever you want to call it. Now these three pipes have got to be removed, and you'll notice that the clips that they've got on it are pressed clips. You will be able to replace them with Jubilee clips. Manufacturers are using cheaper and cheaper components and making things harder and harder to fix. You'll find all about that on some other videos on the website to do with built-in obsolescence and manufacturers deliberately building things to make it more difficult for you to be able to repair it. So I use a set of cutters. Where the crimp is, just cut it and twist it. And these are exceedingly difficult to get off. And you might have to work it a couple of times just to get some metal fatigue in there. And then you will be able to loosen these and pull them out. And you can see the crimping mechanism if I bring this closely to the camera. It is a ludicrous idea and a ludicrous design. But they're trying to stop you repairing everything today. It is a really horrid world we live in. And governments are allowing manufacturers to get away with it. But as I said, you can watch all those videos on the website and they've been highly popular. I think the general public is getting fed up with manufacturers and also fed up with the governments that control them. Now we can pull the three pipes off. Sometimes they are a little bit sticky. You will get water coming out the pipes, there's nothing you can do about that. Just make sure you've got a towel to hand. And that's the 3 pipes off. And if I bring the machine up and drop it down, we are now able to lift up. Make sure you just press these clips down. You can now lift this away, and here you have the circuit board, but this is all part of one component. And there's a little tab, and it's nearly impossible for me to film, but if I unclip that, it comes away and it can only go in one direction. Now, when filming this, I couldn't read that number with my eyesight, so I just looked it up. This part number is 122760000000451. And this is a common part to go wrong when your machine will not fill. Either the impeller jug circuit board goes faulty or you get blockages in the system. Okay, next we're going to remove the pump, but at this point I want to go through possible symptoms and faults that can occur when a dishwasher is not emptying. Firstly, if the filter is not put into the machine correctly, particles of food can get down into this pumping system on the lower level. This means that the particles of food can get jammed in the main motor or the spray arm, and also they can clog up the pump as well. Now, there are multiple different error codes that can occur, and if you look just closely inside here, you will find a screw, and by undoing that screw, this will allow us to remove a little flap, which then gives you access to the impeller, and I'll do a close-up on screen for you here. The error codes when the machine may not be emptying. Now, I've done some research on this and I might not be 100% accurate, but error codes could be AL6, which is the indication of lights at the front, may be indicating when you are not able to empty the machine. E20 is a common error code, and this is related to the pump, and I20 and I28, I believe, are all related on this type of machine to pump problems in some way or other. You must remember that error codes are only an indication to point an engineer to the possible problem that may be occurring. And I hope all those help you. Now, down here is the actual impeller, and you just want to make sure that this rotates nice and freely and there's no particles in there. Believe it or not, one of the most common things to jam these pumps is broken fragments of china or glass, and that is very common. But to remove the pump is straightforward. We'll close it back up again, tilt the machine over, and here is the pump. Now, these clips, when they're actually facing you, are a lot easier to get off. There's just a tab on the side, and you need to bend that tab up. And once you've got it up, you'll then be able to go behind the first metal band and open up the clip. This will make it much easier to remove. I have seen some people actually reuse these clips, but I don't recommend it. It's much better to replace it with a duplicate clip. Okay, now we can remove the hose. And to remove the pump, if you look closely on the side here, there is a little tab that you need to press down softly while rotating the motor in a clockwise direction, and then it will come away. And this motor is 1747600007443. And I have a load of these in stock at the moment, which have come off other machines that have been badly damaged in the past with regards to cabinets. Okay, first let's talk about the heating assembly and the main motor and how it's controlled, and I'll go through some common faults that occur. If the motor is not running, therefore it will not be washing the dishes. The spray arm will not be rotating because it's not creating any pressure. Common problems that can occur with these motors are jammed impellers due to small fragments of either china or glass, which may have broken in the dishwasher, jamming the impeller when the filter was not put down correctly. You may have a bearing which is seized due to water ingress from the heating system onto the motor. There's a small seal in there, and if water gets onto the bearings over a period of time, that bearing can seize. Faulty motor, of course, and also the capacitor that actually shunts the motor into action. The capacitors sometimes can fail. Now the capacitor on this dishwasher is a 3 microfarad, and the main motor number as well I'll put up on the screen. Sometimes these are sold as kit format, in other words you can buy the complete assembly, or you have to buy the individual components. When it comes to the heating system is a standard element, and this is controlled by the circuit board, and one of the relays will be energizing the heater, and there's a pressure switch on the side. The heater would not start if it didn't detect pressure of water, and also you have an NTC sensor over here that reads the temperature and sends the temperature reading to the actual circuit board, saying when to turn the heater on and off as the required temperatures are needed. It's pretty straightforward and easy to remove. You're going to remove the wiring connections, which I'll do now, and also there are multiple clips. Now, I'm actually just going to sell the motor complete for this model of machine, but if you do need a motor or heater, you will actually have to go across to the website with your model number, and because these are Midea machines, sometimes it's very difficult to actually find the correct components for your machine because the data sometimes is not that good on these machines. So we're going to remove the clips first, take the hoses off, and then we'll remove the motor. There is a couple of rubbers at the back of the motor which you need to unclip. And there we have the whole motor assembly. These are the rubbers. Heater at the top. It doesn't have a wattage stamped on it. Pressure switch. The motor identification number, and of course the capacitor. Now what annoys me nowadays, especially when it comes to things like NTC sensors, which have a value at certain temperatures, and as the temperature changes, that value changes and gives this information to the circuit board. A lot of manufacturers do not give you the correct data that is needed to know whether this NTC sensor is good. Now I've set my meter onto 20K for you. Room temperature in here at the moment I would estimate is about 24-25 degrees, and I'm just going to take a quick reading so you would know what your NTC sensor should be reading at this room temperature. It may help some other people in future, and our NTC value is 1125. And it's very difficult to get these probes in, but that should help someone to understand whether their NTC sensor is in good condition. Of course, as the room temperature is either higher or lower, the NTC value will be different, but I do not have a chart to put on the screen for you because the manufacturer has not given that information, which is really not helping with the Right to Repair Act, because all machines have the right to be repaired, and if the information is not available, therefore general public and engineers is not able to check that this NTC value is correct at a certain room temperature. Removing the NTC is simple, just 2 screws. And that comes away. I'm also going to hook in there, and I can also get the O-ring. Now I'm going to remove the circuit board, and this circuit board is programmed for this machine, and I normally only put the models on which this is programmed for. And I'm not going to unplug it, I'm actually just going to cut the wiring because it's always helpful for other people sometimes when replacing a circuit board that they know where the wires go. And this normally helps individual people. Remember, you can get circuit boards, sometimes they're programmed and sometimes they're not programmed. So whenever ordering a circuit board, do understand whether it's programmed or not programmed. This terminal here, I'm actually going to unplug because I believe this goes up to the display, and I might include the actual wiring harness here. The reason I'm doing this is because when the door opens and shuts, metal fatigue in this wire sometimes can occur. This means that a wire may be broken internally, giving a false reading to the machine. And I've just got one more plug there to cut, and now I can unclip the circuit board. And the circuit board will come away. Okay, while I got the circuit board off, I just want to explain a few things. Sometimes if you've ended up with a direct short on the appliance, maybe a broken wire, a fault with something like the motor or the heater, it may have damaged the circuit board, and it might have just blown a track, which is possible to repair. It is also possible to repair if you're a little bit more advanced with circuit board repairs. You might be able to replace a faulty relay that is controlling the heater or the motor or any other component on the actual circuit board. And sometimes these capacitors that are on the circuit boards might have also become faulty, and you can normally tell that if the capacitor has got a domed head, meaning it's swelling. But apart from that, that's a perfectly good board that's going to really assist someone in repairing their machine. I'm quickly just going to disconnect the wiring to the water valves, also the salt dispenser box. There's a nut on the salt dispenser box on the inside which we'll undo in a minute. And we've also got the level indicator, I believe, at the top here. And I also want to undo this pipe. Okay, before tilting the machine over, I'm just going to remove the water valve, and that only needs to have a couple of pins pressed, twist, and it will come away. Remember, there is a filter inside here, and sometimes these can block up if the machine's not filling. Normal solenoid on the top, but that's a perfectly good water valve. And then down the bottom here, I'll just detach the waste hose, and you need to press a few pins in to actually push that out. And now when I tilt the machine over, I'll be able to remove that. Okay, just before rotating it over, I'll just remove the plinth at the front, because I will need access here to assist with the wiring. Now I can pull the waste hose out of the way. Okay, taking the spade connectors. And sliding the door lock out. Okay, the salt dispenser is here, and there is a nut, and you normally have to use wide grips like this, and then just give it a couple of rotations until it's loose. Undo the nut, lift the machine up. Okay, there's two clips you need to be aware of. One is at the bottom here, and if I rotate this around, there is another clip here, and these are quite tricky to get out. You have to pull this one down, then unclip that side, and it will come away. Again, the genuine part numbers put on there. And I'm just going to put the cap and the nut on, and I'll drain that out after, but that's a good salt container with the valve and also the sensor. The last two things we need to take off are the dispenser at the front, and also we'll take off the display. And this means that you just need to undo these screws all the way round. Unclip the wiring for the display board. And I'll take this off in a second. And now we have the dispenser, and that is only held on. There's a wire, there's a clip here that we just need to cut. As a matter of fact, I'll peel this off so you can see. I'll put them back on in a second. There's also 2 clips on either side. Press these down. Do be careful of these edges, they are razor sharp. And there we have a whole dispenser. And the last thing I will take off is the actual door seal. This is only pushed into place. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. There's a link in the description below with regards all the workshop manuals, exploded diagram on this machine, and other information with regards useful videos to help you repair your dishwasher. And any of the spare parts can be found on the website, and the link is in the description. I hope the video helped you. Remember to give it a thumbs up if you would. It always helps the channel. Subscribe if you wish. And if we really helped you, you can always click on the Bipolar Beer page to donate to the website. Thanks very much indeed for watching.